What is a chord?
A chord is two or more notes played simultaneously.
Well, where do these chord notes come from?
They come from the major scale.
What is the major scale?
The major scale is a specific sequence of 7 notes.
Which of these notes is used to make a chord?
The first, third, and fifth notes of the scale produce a simple major chord.
What is a minor chord?
A minor chord essentially has the same note sequence as the major, but the third note is flattened. To flatten a note, move it down in pitch by a semitone, which is 1 fret back on a guitar. A flattened third is called the minor third.
Where do chords get their names?
From the 12 labeled notes in music: A sharp or B flat, B, C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp or A flat.
How do we name each chord?
We can start the major scale sequence on any of the 12 music notes. The notes that we start the pattern on named the scale and therefore the chord which was derived from that scale.
What is a root note?
A root note is the assigned letter which the first note of the scale and chord starts on. This can be any of the 12 labels. It is the note that names the chord.
What is a chord voicing?
A chord voicing is the order of the pitch of the chord tones from lowest to highest.
How many chord voicings are there?
In a 3-note chord, referred to as a triad, there are 3 possible configurations. The first configuration is simply the 3 chord tones in sequence: 1, 3, 5. In this configuration, the 1, or root note, is the lowest pitch note, and the 5th is the highest. This is called the root form. We can now invert the sequence twice. Moving the root note to the end of the sequence changes the order of the 3 chord tones, and now has the third as the lowest pitched note and the root as the highest. This is called the first inversion. By moving the third to the end of the sequence, the order of pitch now has the 5th as the lowest note and the third as the highest. This is called the second inversion.
How do we place these voicings on the guitar?
The guitar has been tuned in such a way as to make it possible to have each of the 3 chord tones within close proximity of one another on adjacent strings. Because these chords consist of 3 notes, we only need 3 strings to apply each chord tone. We will use the D, G, and B strings. Each of these 3 strings will be home to one of the chord tones. The D string is the lowest pitch string, and the B string is the highest. So when it comes to placing the root form for a major chord, the first, or root note, will be placed on the D string. The third will be placed on the G string, and it ends up being 1 fret back from the root note. The 5th will be on the B string, and it is 1 fret back from the third. To make this root form chord voicing minor, simply flatten the third. When it comes to placing the first inversion voicing for a major chord, the third will be placed on the D string, because it is now the lowest pitched note. The 5th will therefore be placed on the G string, and it ends up being 2 frets back from the third. The root note will be on the B string, and it is 1 fret up. To make the first inversion chord voicing minor, simply flatten the third. To place the second inversion voicing for a major chord, the 5th will be placed on the D string because it is now the lowest pitched note. The root will therefore be placed on the G string and in the same fret as the 5th. The third will be on the B string and it is also in the same fret as the first 2 notes. As always, to make the second inversion chord voicing minor, flatten the third.
Is there a preferred hand and finger placement for these voicings?
Yes, there is.